Hi peeps, it's Tersse back in the old squat box once again, and I'm talking about transportation. I remember a time when I used to get on public transport, that is buses, and trains. They were owned by the government. It was a government service. The government built the railway lines. Well, the railway lines were originally in Britain built by public companies, but then they went bankrupt because they couldn't make it pay. The government bought it over. The government ran the rail network in Britain for decades. The government in Britain ran the network, and public transport within cities, buses, We had a council bus service. The council owned the buses and they ran a service to every area that people lived in, because they realised that people needed to get from where they lived to where they worked, and it was financially viable for the council to run a bus service for those people in outlying areas to get into cities and into rural areas where they could urban area where they could get to the place of work, and it was subsidised by the council taxation, and it was subsidised. The rail network was subsidised by public taxation. The public tax is paid to modernise and to extend railways, and local council tax was used to subsidise and build on the public road network. Buses and stuff. And then some crazy, politicians who got this idea that it all works better if it's owned by someone else. The fact that they're driving on roads paid for by our taxes, but they can use those roads simply by paying £80 a year for a road tax, which was, as far as I'm concerned, a completely crap idea. Over the period of 3 or 4 generations, hundreds of millions of people had spent their tax money making roads, building roads for people to drive on, for public transport to drive on, because after public transport, it was free. Everybody could buy a car. But before that, it was like the roads were built by the government. They were built by your local government, your national government, and it was there to get people from where they lived to where they worked, But then it was sort of like, let's get into all this, capitalism idea, and everyone should be able to own a car, and they should be able to drive on those roads. But we're not really going to charge them any more money for the wear and tear they're putting on the roads. We're just going to leave the revenue collecting sort of source to keep those roads up to par, even though they've got like 10 or 15 or 20 or even 50 times as many people driving on it now with their private vehicles, and we're still only going to charge them £40, £50, £80 to drive on it. So they're damaging the road by driving on it, but we're not really going to charge them the worth of the damage they're doing, because we feel it's more important for them to spend their money on cars and make private car sellers rich, and only tax them a tiny little amount and give them huge tax benefits, tax bonuses and tax deferments, so that they actually never pay for the wear and tear that their vehicles are putting on the road, and we never put the wear and tear onto the people who have bought their vehicles. This is where I come off. I think that if you've got a local government, like say a city government, Glasgow or Edinburgh, and they Glasgow, they used to own the public transport. Now it's all been sold off to private companies now. But at the time when it was private, I would have said those private buses, those public buses owned by the public to get them from where they live to where they work, they shouldn't have been paying any kind of road tax. But anyone who wants to buy a car, you would have to calculate in, I would say, about 50 times the fucking, road tax you were paying. Instead of getting it for 10 or 15 or 20 quid like it was back in the 60s and 70s. No, your fucking road tax should have been as much as your fucking insurance is now. It should have been 400 quid a fucking year, you know what I mean? So if you buy a fucking car for fucking 120 quid, your fucking road tax should have been fucking 400 quid. Your insurance, well yeah, it should have been, minimum if you don't crash. Oh yeah, okay. But you're actually damaging these roads that all these people have paid in order to be able to get to work and back on public transport. Now you're running about on your own little car, you're fucking speeding up and slowing down about, you're wearing out the road. You should have paid for that. So here's what I would do. I would start to take back into the public fold or buses. I would start to say we're going to get rid of the private bus services. We're going to take them over by running a public bus service, a local council public bus service in each local council area, and the local bus, the local public bus service doesn't pay road tax because it's already paid. It's paid by you paying your taxes, your local tax, your council tax. That pays for your fucking roads, and that pays for your buses. Private people get a private car. I think we have to increase the road tax for private vehicles. I would say at least 100%, maybe 200%. You want to have a car, you can have a car. You can certainly have a car if you're willing to pay a huge amount of money to drive that car. People might say, oh well then you're just saying that only rich people can have cars. No, because what I like to see as well is rich people paying their fair fucking share of tax. If you're living on just like an income where you inherited $2 billion or £2 billion from your fucking great granddad, well, I reckon you should pay 35-40%, maybe even 50% tax, because you didn't earn that money. That money was given to you. The person who made it had all the benefits that you don't have the opportunity to get now as a starting out businessman. So why should the son or grandson of someone who had the benefits a way back 30, 50 years ago, why should you be able to continue to have those benefits when you've done nothing to earn that money? And basically you're actually punishing people by not paying your fair share of tax. So I would tax you at 40 or 50%, and people who actually work for a living, people who pay a bus fare to get from one area of the city to another area to get their job, why should they pay 35% on their tax, on their wages? No, I would say let's reduce their wage tax to maybe 15 or 20%. I'd say 15%. And people who earn less than say £10,000, £12,000 a year, I would say you pay 10% tax. People who earn under £7,000 a year pay no tax whatsoever. You know what I mean? People who earn over £1 million a year, I would slap a 70% tax on you. And is this going to go on forever? No, it's a fluctuation thing. We need that money, we need that income now. Corporations, I would do away with all corporation loopholes. Corporations need to pay at least 40% tax. Corporation tax should be 40%. Investment tax should be 50%. As far as I'm concerned, if I've got £1 million and I invest that £1 million and I get my £1 million back and I get £500,000, you know, as a reward for investing that £1 million, I think that's pretty good. 50% investment, you know, return on investment. You think about it. I mean, I put my money in the bank as a worker. I put my money in the bank. What did I get? I got 3.5%. I'm wrong there. I think the highest rate of interest I ever got when I was saving money as a worker was 7.25%, which was somewhere around the late 70s, early 80s. Just for saving money, I was getting 7.25% because I was investing money I'd earned but that's me as a worker. You know what I mean? Whereas a millionaire who'd never worked a day in his life, had never lifted a hammer, but had earned his money by, you know, inheriting it from his father, he could take £1 million and invest it and make 32% interest. I think that's obscene. Someone who's never done anything in their life except be born into one family or another, they can make 30-odd%. And someone like myself and my mother, or, you know, people you know, if you're a working class person, they work hard, you know, they put it. Well, I worked in the North Sea, I worked on the railroad. I was putting my life on the line to earn my fucking, you know, 280 quid a week. And I was paying fucking 25-30% fucking tax on that. It just doesn't make sense, man. So I would say, go back to the idea of public transport owned by the local council. They don't have to pay road tax because we pay the road tax by, you know, paying to build the fucking roads that they drive on. Private bus companies, private train companies, private car owners, I would hammer the fucking shit out of them in tax because they didn't build the roads. They're just fucking using them up and destroying them, basically. They're wearing them out with their bullshit fucking crap fucking cars and the way they drive, you know what I mean? How many cars have you seen running into a lamppost and running into a fucking barrier or crash through a fucking bus stop because they were fucking texting while they were driving? They should have to pay for that bus stop. They should have to pay for the damage that needs, you know, the repairs to the road. It should be a fine. If you crash your car and then we have to come along and repair a pothole you made because, you know, your car tipped over and scratched fucking half an inch or 2 inches of fucking, you know, tearing the cadam up, you should be fucking billed for that. Maybe your insurance company should pay for it, but they should pay for fixing the road. You shouldn't just be charged for the damage you did to another car. You should be charged for the damage you did to the road as well. And maybe if we got round to that, where insurance companies had to fork out for retarring the whole road because of the incompetent drivers that they fucking insured. And perhaps we should be looking at the people who make cars and say, well, is your car fit to be on the road? We're not talking about minimum standards here. We're talking about maximum standards. Every car should have airbags. Every car should have anti-locking brakes. Every car should be up to scratch. And if it isn't, then the company should be liable for the damage that their cars do to the road, you know what I mean? It's all very well for the rich to turn around and say the poor have got to pay for shit, but if you're a private company, you're building something, making something to sell to people which causes damage to the society that we live in, you should be held responsible and have to pay up for it, you know what I mean? I know I've covered a lot of crazy, weird fucking ideas here, but it's only if we actually look at it from the point of view of everything needs to be paid for. If you crash a car and knock down a lamppost, why should the council come out and fix that lamppost but never find out or charge the person who hit that lamppost? You know what I mean? I mean, if some crazy driver, drunk or texting or sexting or getting a blowjob while he's driving, if he comes off the road and smashes through a bus stop, why should we just consider that an accident? Why shouldn't the council be able to sue that driver for the rebuilding of the bus stop, or the rebuilding of the light that he knocked down, or the wall that he crashed through? You ever seen half the roads that I walk by where there's been crashes? There's barriers smashed in, there's stone walls damaged. I never hear of anybody ever being charged for the sort of repairing of that wall. And yet, if I stub my toe in the street and fall over because the council hadn't levelled the pavement properly, I can sue them for falling over and break my arm. And that doesn't seem to make any sense to me. I can sue the council for unlevel pavement, and the pavement might be unlevel because some private person in a car crashed and made it unlevel. Why isn't he charged to make that fucking pavement level again? And yet I can sue the council for tripping and break my arm. This is what I'm saying. I mean, there's got to be some sensible way that we can make these things right, you know. Or am I just being too pedantic and, you know, getting into the nitty-gritty of everything in the world, you know? Well, I don't know, you'll let me know, but I think it's a good idea. If you're going to drive a car, you should be responsible for everything you hit with, not just the other car. The curb, the wall, I mean the pavement, the bus stop, the fucking light, the actual fucking tarmacadam you're driving on. If you damage that, you should be charged to fucking fix it. Just my thoughts, you know what I mean? As long as you've